and my computer wasn't cooperating, so we'll do it on the old phone this morning. So the topic for today is just, we're gonna talk about the furniture industry. And again, it's super early. I know everyone's probably just getting around, got our coffee. I like my Pete's coffee, it's pretty good. I've been drinking that stuff forever. But anyway, we'll talk about the furniture industry. So we've been in the game almost 25 years at this point, and a lot of things have changed. And where I was when I was younger versus where things are now with our business, like it's amazing how much times have changed and how much the technology has changed. But then it's also kind of impressive how much it's not changed, depending on what it is that you sell. So I wrote down a bunch of notes. So I got in this game in 2003, basically, and started off in a garage just like everybody else. And now I've got about 12,000 square feet in a shop here in St. Louis. We have about 20,000 total. But the changes in the industry have just, as you grow as a business, right? The things that you need to do, literally, I mean, they're completely different. The way that we used to do things about 10 years ago and the way that we do things now are just so vastly different. So I thought this morning we'd kind of talk a little bit about that. And I don't know who's watching this morning because it is pretty darn early. But when we started this thing here in St. Louis, it was very kind of elementary. There was a lot of elementary stuff going on. I mean, you're talking about spraying with cheap spray guns and using compressors and very little filtration. And we weren't making anything when we started this thing. We weren't making furniture at all. Literally, we were just painting vintage furniture, fixing it up, and we'd go ahead and we would prime it, paint it, all these kind of things, and then we'd ship it off to wherever. And it was so much learning how to deliver products versus just making products, right? Versus just painting furniture versus just making furniture. There was so much more that we had to learn as a business in order to make this thing work. You couldn't just be good at making furniture, and you couldn't just be good at painting, because those things alone weren't enough to grow the company. And so anyway, when we got into this thing, it was literally just in a 1.5 car garage, painting furniture, right? So a lot of people talk about as woodworkers, we'll talk about, I started off in this garage and I was making things, and the paint situation is a little bit different, I think, so literally painting furniture in a garage. And I've talked to several other people that kind of started this as well, and they kind of did the same thing. We'd literally you'd have painted parts in your living room, painted parts in your kitchen. There'd be just sanding dust everywhere, and that's kind of how it started out. And even as a furniture maker, when I was making furniture back in the early 2000s, same deal in a garage, with little 110 volt tools, contractors, table saws, contractors, grade sanders and all this kind of stuff, and your power was always an issue. But anyway, grew this thing and took it from, little garages into smaller, like old school, what do you call them, like auto repair places, taking little sections of that. So it looks like I got the likes coming in. That's good. I appreciate it, guys. Like and hit the comments, all that kind of stuff. It helps us swing the algorithm around, but we'll continue to talk about these things. So anyway, put your comments in here if you got similar situations or how you started. But anyway, so yeah, when you're starting that thing out, you kind of move into a slightly larger place, right? And then from there, you're able to move it slightly larger. And as you learn all these facets of running a company, learning new ways to make furniture, learning new ways to paint furniture, you start to kind of take on more responsibility, right? It's like the responsibility of insurance and the responsibility of, employees and the responsibility, of customers. And it starts to kind of grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And it gets just kind of wild. I love your long legs. People are so great. You always get the goofy comments. It's like, what do I do with that kind of stuff? So, I'm sure we'll figure it all out. But yeah, who doesn't love long legs though? Anyway, yeah, thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. So good morning. The InShot editor. Yeah, I use InShot. I mean, funny thing, the InShot. I use InShot for so many of my shorts, and I use them for my short form videos. InShot's a fantastic app. If anybody's looking for a great app, it's not super expensive, and you can learn it relatively quickly, and then it becomes hyper scalable, right? Once you learn how to use that InShot app, I mean, you can make all kinds of crazy content. The Resplendent Crow, we've used just tons of video content using InShot. I've done advertisements with InShot, and I don't remember what I think it was, say it's like $2 a month. It might be like $5 a month, but well worth the money. That coupled with an app like Canva, you could do just tons of video type stuff. So I don't want to get on a tangent. We got more people coming in. Hello, everyone. We got Gabriel, got InShot Editor, Indigo Kid. Who else we got here? That was more the InShot Editor. I've been subscribed to our channel and like your channel. Oh, good, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know what kind of content people like. I just enjoy talking about the woodworking business. As I kind of get older, I'm 45 now. I kind of realize that we need more people making things, right? We need more people seeing that you can start a company, you can grow something from nothing, and you could do it as I consider myself to be kind of an idiot. I never went to school. I never graduated high school. I had to move all over America to kind of figure out the work thing, right? I always chased better jobs, and just that was my path. I just moved around. I followed the work. I learned the skills. I did woodworking for basically 50 to 60 hours a week most of my life, and then when I would come home, I would also do woodworking at home. So I learned the aerospace side, and then I had the general woodworking side as well, and I coupled those things together and was able to make a company with my wife. My wife is an advertising genius. She also jumped on the high gloss lacquer bandwagon in the very beginning. She was one of the original people that kind of popularized high gloss lacquer, and we've taken this thing over the last 10 years and we've grown it from like 1,000 square feet up to 20,000 square feet. You know, we've seen crazy highs and crazy lows. And again, I just want to talk to this just so people can hear that there's people out here that can do this kind of stuff. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be, you know, have the crazy skills. It's not the woodworking skills that make all this possible. It's part of it. It's not the painting skills that make this all possible. It's kind of a grouping of various things, a little bit of luck, and taking a lot of freaking swings and failing. Like I failed so many times, I can't even begin to tell you guys. So I have more comments coming in. Let's see. Yeah, play Fortnite. There we go. Great. Thanks for the comments anyway. We need more products in the USA to bring back the unions and bring back proud companies that care about their people. Wisconsin, nice. Yeah, more play fishy. Play Fortnite. Please do Free Fire Live. I don't know what Free Fire Live is. I'll have to figure that one out. I'll come back to that. So what this Jason Bender's saying, and good morning, guys. Good morning, Jason. Yeah, that's a part of it, right? Bringing jobs back to America. And I wrote down some notes here. I got a notepad. I'll talk about that this morning. You know, tariffs, American manufacturing, exporting. I import a lot of things that are not furniture based, like hardware and what we call smalls. So I understand importing quite a bit. I understand Chinese, Indian, and Mexican manufacturing. But we make almost everything here in America as far as furniture goes. Our paints are all sourced here in America. We have there's a lot of American made stuff, and we need to have more American made stuff done here today. And we can talk about that today, exactly how that's going to be accomplished, how I think it's going to be accomplished. And again, everyone put in all your comments and let me know what you think about things. So the thing about getting unions and jobs like that back into America is tricky, but it can absolutely be done. And the first thing people have to understand, I think, and this is all my opinion. You guys completely disagree with me. We got more people saying hi. Maddie and Jay said hi. Hello, good morning. Nice mushroom lamp. This is not a mushroom lamp. This is from the movie The Christmas Story, right? This is the leg lamp, and it's a very important prize, right? If anyone has seen that movie, I'm sure most people are in America, but anyway, this is a very important lamp, and I keep it back here because my mom got it for me, and I love my mom to death, and me and my mom have this thing about movies, and she's a great sport. Anyway, so it's hilarious. I did a whole video about getting it when it came in the crate, and anyway, but anyway, making things in America. So in order to, we were talking about the unions, Jason. My dad is a lifelong union member. He worked for the pipe fitters union in Portland, Oregon, and the whole union thing is really important, but it's much more, it's a bigger problem than that, right? The thing about unions is when you have a union, you generally work for the union, right? The union gives the jobs to the businesses, or it gives the workers to the businesses. You don't generally work for the business, which in my opinion is not good. I don't like that as a business owner. I don't like the idea of being told what I have to pay people. I don't like any of that stuff. And the truth is that a lot of manufacturers and business owners don't want to talk about hiring people. They don't want to talk about wages. They don't want to talk about any of that stuff. And I'm happy to talk about all of it, you know, because again, I'm not selling anything. I love those long legs. More comments coming in. We got James Drake here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Look at all these comments. This is great. I really appreciate people just throwing the comments out there. Again, hit the likes and all that kind of stuff and help spread this thing around. But anyway, the union is great. And the fact that you can, do apprentice and you need to teach people things, the unions are fantastic for that. They have schools for that. I was supposed to become a welder when I was younger. My dad wanted me to go into the hall and be a welder just like my dad was. And it would have been a great living, but that's not what I chose to do. I went down the woodworking bandwagon, and it worked out great for me. But as woodworkers and tradespeople, we have to teach people things. And as a business owner, and I probably don't have a ton of business owners on here, but business owners need to quit screwing around and they need to start teaching people things. And it's a double-edged sword, okay? And I'll tell you guys some quick stories about hiring people since I'm still on this Jason guy's comment. I'll tell you guys some stuff about hiring people and the struggles with hiring people today. And if there's any business owners in here, I'm speaking directly to you, but y'all need to step up and you need to start freaking teaching people stuff. Because what we're doing today is we're basically saying, no, I don't want to teach people. It's too much of a pain in the ass. I'm not going to deal with it. I would rather hire someone that either has a ton of experience or I'd rather find an illegal type person or a person that is here getting wages, not wages, wages are a completely separate issue, but that are not getting all the benefits and not paying all the benefits that we need to pay people here in America. Businesses do not want to teach people, okay? And here's the thing, and pay attention to this. This is very important. If you guys don't pay attention to anything else, here's the realest conversation about hiring people you're probably going to hear on YouTube today, okay? Hiring people in America, especially Americans, absolutely sucks. And I'm sorry to say this to people, and I hope this doesn't turn too many people off, but let me explain, okay? I've tried to hire white people, I've tried to hire black people, I've tried to hire Mexican people. My wife's Asian, but I can't say that. I haven't tried to hire any Asian people because no one's ever applied to my business, okay? Every group of people has their own set of problems, right? And it's very frustrating as just a normal guy that just wants to make a product, teach people things, deliver a good product, have good relationships with customers. It's very frustrating to have to deal with all the problems that people have today. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why we have so many problems today, but the idea of showing up on time should not be something you have to teach somebody. The idea of doing a good job, pointing out your strengths and weaknesses is not something that we should always have to do with people. Navigating all your personal drama is not something that we should have to do. So if you want more people to get jobs and we want to bring jobs back to America and we want to start employing more people, we want to teach people things, we want to make a generation, as they say, from the middle out, we have to be able to teach people and have people be receptive to learning, and got more of these comments. Fishy is just blasting this. What's my name? More people coming in. Service ampage for a 30 by 30 shop. I can talk about that too. Hold on a second. I'll jump onto that. And yes, good morning. This is Calhoun 56. So if we're going to bring people into America to teach people, if we're going to bring in young people and teach people how to make things, be painters, furniture makers, cabinet makers, carpenters, all these kind of things, we have to have a group of people that are teachable and that are employable. And I've talked about this for a long time. Being employable is a very difficult thing to teach people. We need to get people into businesses very young. What we think, and this is the problem that I see with education today, is that we're taking people out of the fire and we're putting them into the frying pan, right? So we're saying, hey, you don't need to go to college, right? You need to get into the trades. Well, then, the colleges and all these trade schools are going to pop in and they're like, we're going to teach you how to do this stuff. And truth is that that's not what we need. What we need are people getting out of high school, going into these businesses and learning things. That's really what I think. And it's a personal thing. Everyone can disagree with that. I don't care. But that's what I think we need. I think we've got too many people putting off work and putting off learning how to operate in society for 4 to 5 years while they go to school, right? And we're giving them a ton of money to do it, and we're paying a bunch of people that aren't really that good at what they do to teach people. And then when they get out of school, the education that they have is not that valuable. And we know that because no company is willing to pay them the price to pay back the money that we gave them to go to school, So anyway, as a woodworker, I never got a loan. I never did any of that stuff. I always made, I think the lowest amount of money I ever made coming right into furniture was like 40 grand a year. And this was 20 years ago. So the wages in furniture haven't gone up nearly as much as I'm sure some of the other industries. But when I left 10 years ago, I was making like $90,000 a year, working 40 hours a week. So woodworking can pay. I don't know if that's good wages or bad wages, but that's just what I made. I've heard woodworkers now make 100 grand a year, depending on what industry you're in. So I don't know. This could be BS. You guys let me know what you think people are making. Got more people coming to InShot, the English speaker where you. I don't know what this English is. People just blowing up the comments. Anyway, so a 30 by 30 shop. So power requirements. So think about it. I had about the same size shop. And again, my notes here, in 2008, I moved to El Dorado, Kansas when I was chasing woodworking jobs in aerospace. I bought a Victorian home called the Fraser House. You can Google it. It's a famous house. And anyway, the original garage was a 3-car garage, right? Which again, I want to say it was closer to 50 by 30. It was pretty good size, but I had to knock out all the walls because the house was built in 1886, and every garage door was partitioned, right? Because it used to be a horse stall. Anyway, so I'd knock out all those walls. I ended up putting electric and everything in there. It had regular 110, but we needed to put a full panel in it. So what I ended up doing is I ended up digging a hole for my house where my panel was, about 40 feet to where the garage was across the lawn. And we put in a 200 amp panel, right? So that's kind of what you need. You need to have a decent amount of power, and it's worth spending $5 or $6 grand to get that power put in. Even if you can't do it yourself, get that panel put in there, because you're gonna need 220 machines. The idea of working with 110 power everywhere is just, it's so constricting, and it gets so frustrating if you don't think about making those upgrades fairly soon. Because truth is that when you start woodworking, you're gonna be tripping breakers left and right. And I did this in my house when I lived in Wichita, Kansas for years, and it just absolutely sucks. So you're probably gonna need a good 200 amp service. And here at my shop in St. Louis here, I mean, I don't know how much power we have, but it's an old building from the 50s. And I want to say there's like 6 or 7 different panels, right? So I don't know how many thousands of amps we have in the shop, but we've already used it all up. I'm maxed out. So I actually have to have more power ran to the building so that we can add more machines, right? So if I want to get into adding CNC routers and stuff like that, that's where we're at. Like, we literally have to add more power at this point. There's not enough power going to the building. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. Listen to more of these comments here. Sorry guys, I'm on my phone. I tried to do my computer this morning, but it just didn't want to cooperate. So we're on the phone today. Okay, so I think the comments have slowed down. So anyway, from Monday, my final exam will start to, okay, interesting. Okay, anyway, so back to the industry, right? So the furniture industry has just it's changed so much in the last, like I said, 20 years for me. And what we've seen so much exporting of jobs, and we've seen so much exporting of specifically furniture. Okay, and here's kind of what's changed since I got in the game. So the whole NAFTA thing started in like the 90s, and you started to see the export of jobs. And to this Jason guy's point, my dad was a union guy all his life, and I remember him telling me about all this stuff, right? This is what's going to happen. It's going to gut the middle class. And he was telling me this stuff 30 years ago, and he was absolutely right. So what's happened is, it's not so much that the jobs have left per se, it's that all the work, like the furniture making, the outsourcing of making all this stuff has left, right? So another thing people don't understand about the furniture industry is that the shipping channels to and from America and China and Vietnam have gotten so good and so efficient that it is cheaper, this might blow everyone's mind, but it is cheaper to take wood that is made in America, right? Logs that are chopped down, right? These logs go onto a big container ship. The container ship goes over to China. They process those logs there and turn that stuff into furniture, right? They make the plywood over there. They make the furniture out of it, and then they ship the furniture back to America, right? So that's how cheap the labor is over there. And it's going to be very difficult for America to compete with that, because it's just an insane amount of, they have an insane amount of manufacturing capacity over there, and way more people than we do, right? So because they have all these people, the cost of labor is next to nothing, right? Because it's very easy for someone to say, well, just, I'm not paying you any more money, get out of here, I got someone else coming in here. And because everything is so mechanized, those two things coupled together, tons of labor and mechanization, the cost is dirt cheap, right? There's lots of people you can talk to about how the exporting furniture game works, but it's just we can't compete with the labor, right? So truth is that America has to make a better product. That's the only thing that can't be outsourced, the only thing that can't be taken away by things like AI and MBAs, you know, that want to make money outsourcing all your guys' stuff, is to have really good designs, right? To be really good at making striking furniture, right? And I can't show you guys on this live right now, but truth is that I probably have over 150 different designs of different kinds of furniture that I have worked on over the years, that I have models of in my SolidWorks here. And I am constantly changing designs and coming up with new ideas. And the truth is that's the only thing that is gonna make American furniture manufacturing come back here, right? We have to do that. We have to, we'll get into tariffs here for a second, but we have to put a little bit more restriction on what it means to participate here in the marketplace of America, right? So here's the issue, and again, this is gonna be controversial here. Put on the comments real quick. More people talking. Why nobody cares? I won't pay for. Okay, these are people clearly arguing back and forth. So what you have going on is starting in the 90s, right? Everyone started going to college, and it really ramped up in the 2000s, and then it blew up in the 2010s. What happened is you had a whole bunch of people going to school, and they got all these degrees, and they learned about what is called manufacturing engineering, okay? And what happened here is you had all these lean manufacturing ideas, you know, Kaizen, Six Sigma, everything was this was all the rage for a long time, you know, get your green belts, your black belts, all these kind of things. What happened is all these college-educated people came into the workplace and figured out that they could outsource all this stuff to other countries, sell it back here in America, spend the savings on labor, on advertising, marketing, and design. And when they did that, they got more sales, right? And they got more revenue. And then you had investors come in and buy these companies. And then suddenly you had a whole bunch of people that weren't contributing to the manufacturing of the good, but that were sucking off of the company, collecting dividends and returns on stock and investments. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but so many people came in with all these MBAs, and just it was so easy to just outsource all the labor and bring that stuff back here in America and sell it. And you could do it with a massive margin. Okay, so let's talk about margin. Let's talk about outsourcing for a second. One of the things that is really frustrating, and I know this because I import. Okay, one of the things that's really frustrating is the cost to employ a person in a foreign country is literally dollars a day, right? It's dollars a day. And in order to stay competitive with companies that are outsourcing, you have to have a product that is so good and you have to turn it over so quickly that another company cannot ramp up production overseas, make it, and then send it back here to American time, right? Because a lot of these furniture companies are becoming like Zara. People are familiar with the fashion industry. They're just becoming, they just send designs over to China, they make it real quick, they send it over here, they sell it, and then they're constantly doing this. But you have to make an exceptional design here in America in order to compete, okay? It's very difficult to do, but as some of the outsourcers that imports hardware, I can tell you that people make almost no money in these other countries. And the markup on the products that you can bring in from overseas is staggering, okay? Some examples, and again, people that are into this so far, is recession coming? Yes, outsourcing is the best thing. Okay, well, we'll talk about a couple of those things, and I'm curious, Arif Khan, I'm curious where you're at. So the margin when you bring something in from another country is absolutely insane. Okay, so when I bring in a piece of hardware, I've lots of hardware. You can go on the resplendentgrow.com and see this stuff. When I bring in a piece of hardware, it can cost anywhere from $2 to say $18. Okay, I sell that thing for anywhere from $75 to $160. Right, so the margin is it's astronomical. And think about that with all kinds of high-end products. A lot of high-end furniture does the same thing. They import it from Vietnam, Egypt, Pakistan, China, Mexico. There's a lot of places that are starting to make furniture, and it's very common. A lot of these, top-tier brands, Modern Histories is one of these companies, right? They used to make stuff in England. Now they outsource. I believe it's all made in Vietnam now. And again, they're trying to keep that high name but they're not making their stuff where they used to make it, you know? So again, people are collecting that excess profit from slave labor, essentially is what's going on. And so if we're gonna change that, we have to get more people here in America making products and then demanding jobs. We have to get businesses in here that are willing to teach people how to make things and design really cool furniture. Okay, so I know I've talked a little about this whole thing, but the margins on importing things, whether it's furniture, hardware, whatever, is just insane. And people are taking that money and they're putting it in their pocket and they're not distributing it out to everybody else. They're just not. Maybe they're investing in other companies, they could be doing some other things, but the truth is that they're putting that money in their pocket and they're getting rich, you know, and they're not giving to their employees, and they're not investing in machines here in America. They might be investing in design here in America, they might be investing in advertising here in America. I honestly don't know, but I can tell you how it works with my company, but we'll dig into that in a minute. So more comments coming in. Let's see, is recession coming? Yeah, outsourcing is the best thing. I'm working remotely as an assistant management based in UK for $15 a day as an operation analyst. Okay, well, if this is true, this is kind of what I'm talking about. So this guy is a VA. Well, I shouldn't say he's a VA. I don't know exactly. Operations analyst. Okay, so for $15 a day. Okay, this is kind of what I'm talking about. The UK is where this modern history company used to make its furniture that I was just telling you about. Now they make it. I want to say it's in Vietnam. But anyway, so they went from probably paying a guy in the UK, you know, whatever I'm sure they're in pounds over there, but you know, say it's $20, $30 an hour, right? They're paying, this guy says he's making 15 bucks a day. That's probably what they're doing. So think about where all that savings is coming from, right? This is where you get this massive divide in the haves and the have-nots. And you're going to start to see a change in that. But anyway, back to what I was saying about so that's just the wages, okay? The biggest problem, and again, Zarif Khan might be able to speak to some of this. The biggest problem is not necessarily the wages, okay? The biggest problem is the rules and the regulations with which businesses have to operate, okay? So a business in America has 1,000 rules and regulations that they have to adhere to, right? And you can fly under the radar for a little bit, but eventually you will get caught doing something because there's just so many things, right? So if an agency gets wind of you and wants to come in and look at your business, you know, they're going to find something. If they don't find something, they're going to find something that they can refer to another agency, okay? The businesses in these foreign countries don't have the same rules and regulations, right? And this is something that's not talked about a lot. And more people need to be talking about the rules and regulations around operating businesses in America versus operating businesses overseas, okay? Because what we're doing here in America is we're basically outsourcing our way of life to other countries, right? We want super cheap things, which we're addicted to cheap shit here in America. We want all this cheap stuff, and we're letting other companies deal with the consequences of all our rules and regulations, right? We call this virtue, right? We could easily say, well, we want clean air and clean drinking water, but we want the cheapest products possible, so we'll outsource all the dirty work to other countries. And this is something that, again, we need to change here in America. I don't know how we do that exactly, but it's a big problem. I know, guys, I'm going off on a tangent. We've got all these comments coming in. It's hard to keep on track with what you initially wanted to talk to. We have all these comments coming in, but we're just going to roll with it. So yeah, outsourcing is the best thing. Yes and no. There's pros and cons. So yeah, you said you're working as a remote assistant management based in UK for $15 a day as an operations analyst. But the purpose of business is to reduce costs rather satisfying moral economy by hiring costly labor. Yeah, no, that's 100% true. If you really want to break what a business is supposed to do down to the bare nuts, you know, if it's a race to the bottom, America will lose every time, right? The business owners will be the people that win, and then everyone else is going to lose. Okay, and again, from a moral standpoint, I got a real problem with that, you know. But as a business owner, I get to pick and choose what I want to do, right? So if I want to outsource, like just say for instance, and let's go with your theory, okay? Let's go with your theory and say that, yeah, the idea of a business is just supposed to get cost out as low as possible. I don't operate in that space, which is why I'm where I'm at. I don't operate in the space of lowering my prices. I actually operate in the space of getting my prices as high as I possibly can, okay? And if you go on my website, theresplendentcrow.com, we operate in the luxury goods space. So I'm trying to sell my furniture. I sell $20,000 desks, right? Like I could take that desk and I could have it made in another country for probably $2,000. I could have that desk made in India where all the brass is that I put on that desk, and again, have it made super cheap and sent back over here and probably quadruple what I make on that desk, right? But guess what? Here's the thing. I don't have that mindset because I want to teach people how to do things. I want to give people jobs here in America. And the people that buy my stuff like seeing my people do that work, right? We have a big social media presence. And what I'm trying to do is give people work, right? And that's the thing. If all I want to do is just, get some cheap person to do some work, like that's not good, And again, from the economic standpoint, what you're saying is 100% true. From a moral standpoint, I completely disagree with you. And it's if I was selling, fruits and vegetables, that'd be one thing, but I'm selling a luxury good and I can charge a crap ton of money for it, but I'm not trying to rip my customer off. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, hey, customer, look at this amazing thing that I make. Nobody else makes this, right? I'm the only person in the world that makes this particular kind of product. I have the best finish in the world, right? And I pay my people the best wages that I possibly can. Buy my thing, here's my price, here's the value and the transaction proposition, right? The customer has given me their money more times than not, right? Which is why I have a business. And again, I don't rip people off. I'm not trying to outsource all my stuff. I do outsource certain things, right? But I'm not trying to just make a shit ton of money and then screw over the people here in America. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do, So I take your point, and I think I absolutely agree with you. I just, from a business point of view, I don't want to do that. I didn't go to college to learn how to be super efficient and then not care about the people that work for me. That's just, I don't roll that way. And what I started off this conversation talking about was that people need to learn how to do things, and it's incumbent upon us businesses to do that, especially as woodworkers, right? I think in the last 20 years, which is where I started this conversation, less and less people woodwork. We're seeing more people on YouTube doing woodworking and talking about the things that they're making, and less people actually making things, okay? And that's a damn shame. I don't like that. It really bothers me that you see so many people on YouTube making content about woodworking, but then when you go look at what they're selling, go on their websites. They're not selling furniture. They're selling coffee cups, they're selling t-shirts, they're selling drawings, they're selling advertisements for things that have nothing to do with woodworking, like mental health. They're selling, boner pills. They're selling anything but woodworking, right? You can't go on their website and buy anything that they've made, And again, that should piss people off. It really should. You got a lot of people doing tool reviews and stuff like that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be a woodworker and you're going to talk about woodworking, what are we doing? I've said this, I don't know if it's a popular point, but I've said this before, like, I don't understand it. You can go on the resplendentcrow.com and buy 200 different kinds of furniture. We'll make it and we'll deliver it to your house, because that's what we're doing. Like, we're actual woodworkers here. We have to go through the shit of teaching people how to do this stuff, and I was going to talk earlier about hiring people, and this is kind of one of the things that we're going to have to do here in America if we want to get people back to making things. If we want to change the trajectory of everyone just making content and everyone trying to get an office job and get rich being a vlogger or an influencer, if that's the world we want to live in, great. Everyone's just going to watch television all day long. But if you want to teach people how to make stuff and you want to start businesses and you want to develop products and things like that, it's a shit ton of work, people. Like, it is so much work, I cannot even begin to tell you. It is a ton of work, but it's the most fulfilling thing you're ever going to do. I guarantee it. So, again, back to what I was talking about. I'm going to go through my comments again. All right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe, So, but again, operations analyst, like, there's nothing wrong with being an operations analyst, but, what is that? Does anyone even know what that is? I mean, you're going to come into my business and tell me how to operate it? Again, I'm sure that there is a ton of things that someone can easily come into my business and tell me how to do things better on. I'm completely open to that, But the truth is that when you are a small business operator, there's no money for that, because, again, we give it to our employees. We don't pay our shippers dirt wages. We don't do that kind of stuff, and here's a little inside baseball for everyone. I have a VA, I have a VA that handles my website. I have a VA that does a lot of my work out of, I want to say it's Indonesia, worked for me for, I think, a couple of years this way. I say works for my wife. But anyway, does all kinds of back-end stuff, and again, we probably could hire someone here locally to do it, but trying to find these people is impossible. It's a real pain in the butt, so we're not going to do that kind of stuff. But anyway, one more comment. All right. Crashers art, and art keeps you stress-free. Yeah, and there's some truth to that. And again, I'd love to talk about that. That was amazing. working with your hands and seeing what you've done every day is absolutely a de-stressor. And if you can make money doing it, it is very helpful, right? But as business owners, the stress that you have to deal with is insane. It's absolutely insane. This is why most people don't want to start woodworking businesses. They don't want to start paint businesses because they take that hobby that is stress-free and then they turn it into a business, which becomes a massive ball of stress. You know, I don't know how many days I've come home and just lost my freaking mind. Like I just go nuts because of the bullshit that I have to deal with trying to get people to make things, to teach people how to make things. The common sense is not there today. And anyway, I'm going to have a tangent on that. So anyway, the industry. The industry, it's been 20 years at this point, and we've seen a lot of changes, right? So we've seen the massive growth in YouTube, the massive growth in influencers, the massive growth in digital content. We haven't seen the massive growth in businesses, right? Furniture businesses, paint businesses. We haven't seen any of that stuff, you know, and it's not getting better because the cost of labor is through the roof. The regulations are through the roof to start a company. You know, so most people just do it in their garage, make content about it, and that's as far as it goes, which is why nobody is really learning how to do this stuff. You know, it's just because people are watching the content, they're not actually doing the work, you know, which is a damn shame. So I want to see more people start businesses. I want to see more people take on the challenge of training people as business owners and getting more people into this industry of making things, you know, because it takes a lot of work, and I don't know if people want to do the work. You know, I can't figure out why people don't want to start businesses today. Like everyone is just addicted to cheap goods. You know, they rather than go and buy an $8,000 credenza, which you got to save up for like you would a car, we'd rather go buy a $200 version off Wayfair that comes in from China that's flat packed. And again, I know it's a money thing, but again, if you're addicted to cheap things, right? You want to get a new credenza every year as opposed to a credenza that lasts 50 years, which is what people did 50 years ago. You know, we're going to continue down the cycle of just constantly buying stuff. And the only thing that's going to save business owners today and people that want to get in the woodworking business is design. You know, and I'll beat this thing to death, but that is the thing that is going to allow businesses today to continue to grow. If you want to be in the woodworking business, you're going to have to do something better than everybody else. And it's not necessarily your efficiency, because you're not going to compete with foreign countries. But if you can get a good design and you can get really good at making a product that people really want and give you dollars for, you're going to be in business for a long time. You're going to do great things, and it's going to be fantastic for you. But anyway, more changes. All right, 20 years. I got more stuff. I've never done one of these things for more than like 40 minutes, so I'm going to try and get this thing to an hour. So again, like, comment, add your conversations. I'm going to talk to everyone that comments. The other changes have happened. So the furniture industry itself is because more people are making things overseas, and because more people are basically taking designs from people. If you can get really good at design and you can get really good at making things here in America, there's actually less competition. You know, because there are a lot of people that want to make stuff in America. They want to know that they're buying something from somebody here. There's a little bit of an artisan kind of situation where there's a little bit of an attachment to knowing that you bought a product from a specific person. There's a lot of value in that if you can do it, but it takes a very long time. And it's something that you can't do overnight, right? It's something that you're going to have to keep working at, and you're going to have to listen to people talk about it, and you're going to have to get some recognition for your designs. And it's a very long process. More comments coming in. Money supply increased and more contribution to services, business, and cost of manufacturing went up. No, I think that's a fantastic point. We see the same thing in colleges, right? You get more people coming into an industry, no matter what it is, and that money that comes in there, you need more people to support it, right? You need more administrative people. If you're in manufacturing, you need more manufacturing engineers. You need more, operations analysts. You need more environmental engineers. You need process engineers. You need all these kind of people to help you develop all these processes and products for countries or for facilities in other countries, right? So you're not going to do that here in America unless you're working in some high-tech sector. But yeah, you need all these people to support this industry, but oftentimes it's in another country, right? Which is kind of messed up. Same thing with our colleges here. We had a whole bunch of people get into college in America, and I'm sure it's the same thing in other countries. But whole bunch of people come into college, right? And at a certain point, you need to hire more people to support all the students. But eventually, the students slows down, and the administration continues to grow, and you end up with this massive imbalance of too many people supporting the business and not enough people making shit, right? Which is kind of what we have here in America. But anyway, so all these changes, and things are just it's starting to change a little bit. Okay, so what we're seeing now, what I'm seeing now, is the industry of handmade products and products that have a little bit of a story to them are in demand. There's a whole kind of niche market that people can get into, that people are willing to pay for, that is a place you can make money. You know, will you get rich? Probably not, but it's there, and you can get into it with a really nicely designed product. So if you're making like furniture, like we make furniture, if you're seeing that people are buying credenzas, like if you get on Wayfair, or you get on Google, or just search credenza, you know, and you're going to see just the first thing that comes up is going to be it's going to be for all the people that paid for advertising on Google, right? You know, your Wayfairs, your Etsy's, it's going to be Overstock, it's going to be Home Depot, it's going to be all these. And if you look at all of it, it all looks the same, right? Every bit of it looks the same. Like if you just kind of glance at it all looks absolutely the same. And truth is, the reason for this is because it's all being cut on CNC routers, which is one of the big changes in the furniture industry, right? It used to be we made things by hand. We used tools like pin routers, and then the CNC technology came and it got better, and now it's readily available to anybody with a garage, and it's fantastic. The technology is fairly easy to use, and the end product is amazing. But anyway, these products everyone's making everything on a CNC router, which is something I'll talk about. I've gotten into it a little bit. But when you start making things on a CNC router, here's what happens. The people that are cutting out all the parts, right, are oftentimes the people that are looking at the models. They're looking at the G code. They're looking at the back end of what somebody else has designed, okay? The person that is designing that furniture is more than likely going to be a person with a college degree that has done a ton of design work, but has never made anything. And this is something that is a little controversial, but I honestly believe that the people that make things are going to have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to designing stuff, and not in every case. You know, you need all kinds of people to do things, but if you have some ability to make something, you're going to have an advantage over people in designing furniture, because you understand how things work, you understand proportions, you understand all these kind of things, and so you can get to a place where your designs are very hard to replicate. They are very hard to reproduce, right? To send an idea, translate it into a model, and then send it over to another country, have somebody else build it, right? If you can do all those things here, some of this is a little bit of vertical integration. If you can do this stuff here in America, you're gonna have an advantage, right? And there are people that want to buy this kind of stuff, okay? So if you can create a style or an aesthetic that is wholly yours, you can turn that into dollars, like big time. It will happen. But it takes a lot of time, and you have to make a lot of shit, and you have to scrap a lot of stuff, and you have to turn over designs constantly until something really catches. And if you do this enough and long enough, you will find something, right? And again, making things by hand is highly desirable here in America because so much stuff is being made overseas. So much stuff is being made on a CNC router, and so much stuff is being designed by people who have not made anything. You know, so anyway, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I don't want to bash anybody for that, but there's a difference. There's a distinct difference between people that have made stuff and people that have never made anything. So anyway, so CNC routers are a big change that I've seen in the last 20 years. When I first got into aerospace, we had 2 3-axis machines that ran all the time. I think they were multicam machines. They ran all the time in Wichita, Kansas, and they were fantastic, you know, but I became the person that would make everything from scratch. That's really what I like to do, because a lot of people really do like getting what we call kit parts. They love having all their stuff made on a router. It all goes together super easily, and they can make something and they're super happy. What worked for me as a woodworker was to be the guy that just took sheets of what was called Nomex sandwich panels and just start cutting everything up, you know, doing all the edge filling, putting all the inserts in, framing everything up, figuring out all the complex hardwood curves, all that stuff took me a long way, So anyway, CNC routers are a big one, but we've stepped into the CNC router game, right? Which again, you've heard me talk a little bit of shit on CNC routers, and you've heard me talk a little bit about technology and school and all this kind of stuff. But the truth is that as a company here, we've been in business for 8-9 years at this point. We've had to move into the CNC game, right? So we've had to learn how to sell two different distinct products, right? Because you can't sell a high-end handmade product and then make it on a CNC router and sell it for the same price. At some point, your customer is going to catch on and realize they're not getting what you sold them. And if they catch on to that, you're in deep shit, right? Your brand is going to lose value. So you have to be very careful how you incorporate CNC into your heirloom line of furniture, right? So it's one thing if you sell a CNC type cabinet, you can brand it as whatever you want. But when you're selling a handmade heirloom quality piece of furniture that people have purchased for a very long time, they expect that, right? And so the CNC games, everyone's going to have to utilize it to some degree. But it doesn't have to be this thing that turns your furniture into what I just said a minute ago. Is that what looks like everybody else's furniture, right? Again, Google credenza, and it's just the same products by a bunch of different companies. Because the truth is that they're all getting their shit made overseas in the same factories, making the same kind of stuff. And when people say, "Oh well, but it's my design," okay, here's the thing. Your products are never your own, especially when you deal with overseas. They will take your product and they will sell it to somebody else. They will sell your designs to somebody else. Nothing is sacred, And I know this because I've dealt with these people. They're more than happy to sell you somebody else's ideas. They absolutely are. And it's because everyone just wants to make money, especially in the third world. Making money is such a big deal, especially in America. They're happy to sell your designs over. So you got to be very careful about who you let work on your stuff if you're going to get something made overseas. That's a whole different discussion. All right, next comment. I think US dollar is strong. That's why other weak countries impose taxes. Otherwise, US products are the best. Okay, so Arif, I completely disagree with you, and I'll explain why. Next comment coming in. Big booty Latinas are snow buddies. Gabriel. I'm a big booty guy for sure. Anyway, so we'll start with the last point. Otherwise, US products are the best. Okay, here's the thing. US products always start off being the best, right? Because we have the most technology, we have the most creativity here in America, because we have the most freedoms to do all of those things. Anybody can come to America with nothing in their pocket and create anything they want, be anything they want, and it's true because it's been replicated a million times. The truth is that America wants everybody's smart people, right? And that's just how it is here. It's not a dig on any other country. There's a lot of other great countries out there, but the truth is that because of how we're set up here and our mindset and the people we used to let come into this country, we only create and we only make the best of everything. But the truth is that what's happened in the last 30 years is that the great ideas come here, and then some MBA figures out how to outsource it so he can make more money here for his products, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that if it's not every industry, but it's pretty much becoming every industry now. And people have talked about American manufacturing. We still manufacture tons of stuff, and the truth is that we do. The problem is that most other people can't afford it, right? So there's not much to export. We sell a lot of things to ourselves, and we can sell technology, right? Things that we're not allowing other countries to work on. We can then absolutely sell those things. We have very fertile land here in America. We can grow tons of stuff that other countries just can't grow. It's not that they don't have the people and they don't have the resources. They don't have the soil, right? They don't have America has a very unique agriculture here. So we're able to export a lot of things to other countries, and we're able to export it at a fair price because other countries not tariff it, what's the word I'm looking for? Subsidize it. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, but the truth is that America starts off making the best of everything, and then we export it to other countries, show them how to make it, and then we bring it back here and try and pawn it off as the same great American product. And the truth is that it's not, And the other thing is that other foreign countries make things just as good as America. They really do. you can make any of my furniture could be made overseas and the quality would be just as good as long as I showed them exactly how we make it, because they can throw as many hours as they want at it. They can throw as many resources that they want at it, because no matter how many resources another country throws at a product, it's going to be a tenth of what we would do here in America, right? Or yeah, I think I said that correctly. So anyway, it's just there's big problems there with the cost to produce things in foreign countries versus here in America. The other thing is that the US dollar is strong. Yep. And other countries impose. Yeah, of course, because other countries want to protect their industries, which is I don't blame them. It's like my wife is from India. If you want to make cars in India, good luck. They've got their own industry there. They're not going to let you just sell cars in their country because they want to be able to do that there. Same thing with their brass industry, right? You want to import brass into a place like India. They have a massive industry over there that is just the brass industry. They're going to protect it, right? So good luck doing that. You can buy it, but good luck getting it in there. So yeah, every country does this, and America hasn't done this for very long. They've gotten away from it because, again, what they want to do is people want to take the American ideas, make them overseas, and then bring those products back into America with no tariff, right? I mean, it makes sense. If you don't know how to make anything and you don't know how to produce anything yourself, of course you're going to want somebody else to do it, and you can produce it somewhere else, bring your idea back to America using cheap labor that doesn't have our regulations, and then you can put that money in your pocket and go buy a yacht. So you can't do that in other countries, right? Imagine like a reef. If you were UK is a terrible example because they're another rich country, but I mean, just say you're in Indonesia, right? And you have this great idea. You're not going to send that idea to be made in America and then brought and sold back in Indonesia because nobody could afford it. So again, there's no money to be made doing that, but that's what we do here in America constantly. So again, I keep going off on these tangents. So we're here 51 minutes. All right, we're doing good. So we got probably another 10 minutes here. So, all right, more comments coming in. Does anyone know if YM is single? Oh God, I love the PP. Yeah, right. So yeah, good morning, everyone. Good, hit the likes, keep the comments coming. It helps with the algorithm. But anyway, yeah, so we got a lot of changes coming in with manufacturing and the way products are manufactured here in America. And again, as a person that started off in the business game, or excuse me, in the furniture game in basically the early 2000s, just everything has changed. The way we make things, who makes things, how things are made, it's all gone overseas. But it's going to start coming back to America, I think. Okay, so I don't know if people want to talk about tariffs, and we don't need to make this a political thing. But you are seeing a change coming where tariffs are being talked about a lot, right? And again, I talked a little bit earlier in this talk about what has been happening for the last 30 years, right? It used to be if the guy in his garage, and this is a personal story for me. So if you guys want to know exactly how this happened, I'll give you my exact story on what happened with my parents' furniture company, which again, side tangent, we need more people starting businesses and then passing that on to their children, right? We need more people doing something that is respectable enough that they want their kids to do it, right? If you're doing something that is antithetical to what you would want your kids to do, why are you doing it? And it's just to make money, I understand, but we can change this thing where more people are doing things that they would want their kids to do, or that they would want other people to do. Like, I don't know how many times I've had people ask me why I do woodworking or would I recommend woodworking, and I always tell people absolutely. Like, get away from your corporate 9 to 5, get into woodworking, start making things, learn to weld, learn to fix windows and go be a carpenter, learn to do floors, because you'll have work forever. You might not get rich, but you're never going to get laid off. You're never going to have to worry about someone coming in and taking your job. Like that, it's just not going to happen. You don't have to worry about that because you make a physical product, right? But anyway, so here's the exact story. So when my family had a business, woodworking business in Oregon, and it was never anything substantial. Like my mom still had to work, my stepdad ran it, and it was fine. It lasted for like 20 years. But when 9/11 happened here in America, everybody stopped spending money. Everybody, all the municipalities, all the police stations, fire departments, city departments, school districts, everybody, cash dried up, right? So I had to go find other work, which, I took a job in Wichita, Kansas, so I had to move halfway across the country to go take a job in aerospace. It ended up working out great for me. But the thing is what we saw going on is that those woodworking jobs, the idea that you could have a woodworking business in a shop on your property, and have a middle class life, those days are over, right? They're over, and they got harder and harder and harder and harder as the years went on. And are there people that do it? Absolutely. But one of the reasons you see people doing YouTube content and selling coffee cups and t-shirts is because they don't make any money selling furniture, right? People love to watch the content, and it's funny watching some goofball dance around, while he makes a whiskey table or whatever, but no one's buying that shit, right? Because they're not selling furniture. They're not helping people to create businesses and create jobs and learn skills. They're selling content and they're selling entertainment, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's what's happened, right? So people have found other ways to make money other than making furniture. And so what's getting ready to happen, I think, is that you're gonna see a change, okay? And I'll talk about tariffs here. Let's see if I can rotate this comment down here. What's your perspective on wood industry of Canada versus US? Okay, I know a lot about this, so I'll talk about that. Anyway, this is a reef, man. You're good questions, man. I really appreciate this. Again, I tell people hit the like, add to the comments, helps with the algorithm, and we'll keep answering questions and we'll keep talking here. We're at 55 minutes. This is good. So I'm going to talk about tariffs, and hold on, guys. I'm going to write this down. Wood industry. So this is Canada versus USA. Okay. We'll talk about the timber industry. We'll talk about wood products, all these kind of things. So I used to live in Corvallis, Oregon, so I have a very deep understanding of the forestry industry in general. So, yeah, forestry. Okay, anyway, keep going. So the tariffs thing is getting ready to happen, okay? And I'll talk about tariffs briefly. If people talk about tariffs and stuff like that, we can talk about that for a second. But what's getting ready to happen is you are going to see a change in the way that America brings income into its coffers. And it used to be income taxes, right? So if I worked 40 hours a week, I would pay X amount in taxes, right? And if I worked 60 hours a week, my income would increase by 50% because of our labor laws, and then I would move into a different income bracket. I would pay a different amount of income into the government, okay? So what's getting ready to happen, I think, is that's gonna go away for a lot of people. And so if you're gonna be you wanna be a woodworker, you wanna be a carpenter, you wanna be a welder or whatever, you wanna be stucco houses, you're gonna be less penalized for busting your ass, right? Which is extremely important if you want middle-class people to come into America, or to leave their corporate jobs and come in and make things, okay? It's gonna be very important that you're not penalized for working harder, because that's really what we need to happen in America, is more people need to work harder. And I know people don't necessarily want to hear this, but if the way to make money is to basically buy assets or get into finance, if those are the two ways that you can get rich, you're not telling people that you want them to be middle class. You're not telling them you want them to bring jobs back to America. You're not telling them you want them to take a chance doing this thing that we've thought is for dumb people for so long. You're not sending the right signal, right? So they're going to send a new signal, and that signal is going to be that you will not be penalized for working really hard, learning a trade, right? Which is how tradespeople generally work. We generally have to bust our ass. I worked 50 to 60 hours a week for 2 decades, okay? And I still work super hard all the time, right? But you're penalized for making more money. And I think that's going to change. I think we're going to end up changing the tax code to where owning real estate and being a hedge fund manager are not going to be as valuable as making a piece of furniture, as framing a house, as laying a concrete foundation or a driveway. I think you're going to see a change there, because suddenly people are going to have to pay to sell goods in America, okay? So if you're the MBA, right, who got a degree in business and finds out that he can make furniture and then have somebody over in China make it for 1/10 of the cost that he has to make it for to start a factory here in America, and then he can take all that money and put it in his pocket and go buy a yacht. Well, now he's going to have to pay 100% more, maybe 200% more, to bring that product back into America, right? So it's going to be more advantageous for him to hire people in America to make those products, and he's going to put less money in his pocket. I think that's what's coming down the pipeline. And again, I never graduated high school, so don't take advice from me, but I think that's what's coming down the pipeline. So the idea that you can just make money trading stocks, there's going to be a little bit more of you're going to pay a little more of a price to try and work without doing work, okay? And that's the simplest way I can put it. So that's what I'll say about tariffs. And again, I don't know if anyone's got any comments about that kind of stuff. Okay, so we got the Dominator coming in. Good morning, sir. Please for your stream. I'm Fat Troll, no life. Great. I wonder if I could perhaps troll your stream for a few short moments. Good day. Yeah, great. We're always into comments, you know, so go for it, Dominator. Whatever you want to do. China has 100% ships 1 mile off the West Coast building furniture. Yeah, again, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, this is the Southern Mofo. So Southern Mofo, good morning, good to meet you. I don't know what part of the South you're in, if you're even in the South. I lived in Savannah for a long time. Love the South. I love Florida. I would love to buy a place in Alabama, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I've heard, you hear all kinds of crazy things. I don't know what the stories are, but I know that we have a massive, and this, again, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but we have a massive problem with drugs in America. You know, every country's trying to, or every state's trying to legalize weed. Everyone's on some kind of a freaking SSRI. And again, if you have to go to some soulless job to do some soulless thing, I don't know that it gets any better, right? Drugs are as good as it gets. But if you make things, and we talked about it earlier in the stream, if you make things, there's something very relaxing about it. But it's very hard to make a middle-class living doing it. And again, I think that is about to change. And I don't know, but I think that we're gonna try and get more people back to doing stuff, especially men, back to working on cars, you know, working on houses, getting people out of these fucking apartments and getting them into places where they have purpose and meaning, you know, making a table, you know, framing a house, whatever it might be. I think we're gonna see more of that in America, right? You're less people going to college, learning to be psychologists and, you know, whatever the people go to school for these days. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know. I hope it happens. All right, we got more comments coming in. French Carpenter here. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. The French, holy smokes. Good to see you. It looks like JR is your name. Yeah, thanks for getting on the stream, and I appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know, I don't have a ton of French. I do have a couple French stories about being in New Zealand, but I don't have any French stories. I've never been to France. I'd love to go. I'd just love to go to Europe. I haven't done it yet. I need to. But thank you for coming in here. More comments coming in. And Arif, I'm getting back to your comment about the forestry or wood products, Canada versus America. I haven't forgotten. I wrote it down. You can export technology. You can sustain that for 10, 50 years, monopoly as new products overseas. Yeah, you're 100% right. 100%. I don't disagree with anything you're saying there. Technology is a fantastic thing. But at some point, your technology only takes you so far. At some point, you have to be able to make a product, but more importantly, you have to be able to design a product. And I've talked about design, and I'll go to my grave talking about it. It is more important than any technology. It's more important than having the best craftsperson, the best whatever. Design is almost everything. And you can look at Apple, look at Apple phone. The Apple phone, no one even knew that they wanted the iPhone, right? Steve Jobs came up with an amazing design, amazing product. The rest is history. Okay, he wasn't really a designer. He wasn't a fabricator. He wasn't necessarily a technology guru. He just had an idea. He knew what people wanted. He actually was very good at marketing and pushed the shit out of that thing, and the rest is history. Okay, he figured out how to do everything else. Right? He didn't have to know how to make a phone. He had to learn how to figure all that stuff out. He found the people, and he did it himself, and it's an amazing story if you've ever read into Steve Jobs. All right, more comments. Yep, technology. Grant Hindle, good morning, Grant Hindle. Or get a job, or your job security. Job security, not exactly sure what you're saying there, but job security is, if you work with your hands and you make things, you can't outsource that stuff. Like, it's one thing if you yes, okay, back up. Yes, you absolutely can lose your job. I said that incorrectly. If you build a house, right, it's very difficult to outsource your job. If you fix refrigerators, it's very hard to outsource your job, right? If you are a plumber, it's very hard to outsource your job, okay? There's a lot of jobs in America you could do that are in very high demand that pay a crap ton of money. And I would even say, auto repair. You know, if you have a lot of skills, you like working on cars, that's a very good way to make a living, but you're gonna put up a lot of shit to do it. But you can make a fantastic living doing this. There's a lot of jobs that will not be outsourced. And again, my dad told me this stuff 30 years ago. You know, he told me what to do, and he was 100% right. Like, I hate to say it, my dad, you know, who never even went to college, was a lifelong welder. worked for the hall in Portland, Oregon, a pipe fitter, and yeah, it's, there's a lot of jobs that you can do forever. There will be no loss in job security. It's just there's no, especially if you're really good at it. I mean, I did a video the other day about if you're mediocre, you're in trouble, right? If you're the best at what you do, you never have to worry about your job. And most people think that they're way better than they are, And the truth is that your ability to keep a job and have a job is all the feedback that you need, right? If you're very good at what you do, you show up on time, you do a great job, you'll always have work, And again, I'm not gonna. Okay, yeah, great handle, good comment. Let's see, got more comments coming in. Reefcon, again, guys, hit the like and all that good stuff. Add to the comments. I really appreciate everyone's feedback this morning. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's good to have these conversations with people. And I like getting people from other countries. My wife is from India, and I love talking to people from other countries because they have the best perspectives, especially people that make it to America. The perspective on the rest of the perspective of the rest of the world from people that come to America from other countries is far and away the greatest thing I think that we could have here in America is the perspectives of all these people. All right, branch out your work overseas if it's unique product with majority raw materials to produce. Branch out your work overseas. Yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic. But again, what are you doing for the people here in America, right? What are you doing for the people around you? What are you doing for your community? If you take that work and you send it someplace else, yes, you're helping other countries, which is fantastic. There's no doubt about that. And maybe you could find, other work for other people to do here in America. I don't disagree with any of that. But the truth is the easiest thing to outsource overseas is labor. So, and the truth is that the reason, again, America is just full of drug addicts and full of people on all kinds of meds and we're lazy and fat and all these kind of things is because we don't use these very much, right? We do this, we do a little bit of this, and we watch stuff, but we're not putting things together. We're not learning to figure out how to make a cabinet square. We're not learning, we're not constantly in a state of looking to make sure we don't cut our hands off when we're using a miter saw or bashing our thumb in when we're using hammers. There's a lot of mental wellness that comes from operating in those environments all day long and then coming home to a place that's safe, coming home to a place that smells good, that's comfortable, right? When you're operating in a place where you are constantly on guard and you're having to think about what you do all day, coming home is a great thing. Now people are just stuck at home and they're miserable, or they want to work from home and they don't realize that they're making their lives even more miserable. They're not helping themselves. So anyway, okay, I need to get back to this comment about Canada and USA and wood products. So more comments coming in. Depends on labor psychology is great. Yeah, I don't know. I've been told that I don't know what I'm talking about at all, and that's fine. That's the great thing about YouTube, right? We can talk to people, we can see what people want to talk about, we can hear what people want to talk about, and it's a great way to kind of have back and forth with people about whatever it is you're into. So all right, so Canada versus USA and wood products. Okay, so here's the thing about the forestry industry. Okay, in growing up in Oregon, part of your education is that you have to learn about the forestry business because it's so massive in Oregon. It's one of the largest industries in that state. Canada has just as much timber as America has, right? And they have a lot of the same timber, right? Yes, it's a little bit colder. They've got some different hardier products up there, but they have a massive industry, okay? So one of the things that you run into when it comes to different kinds of forestry products is that you have different, America has we have a highway system, right? We have a massive system that was put together in it was like the 40s or 50s. So we're able to move things very easy here in America. Canada, from what I understand, is not quite as efficient as we are. I'm sure that it's gotten better over the years, but we are just able to move products from all over the country. Okay, so in America, you have two big companies that produce wood products, right? You've got, the second name's gonna escape me, but you got Boise Cascade, which is massive. And then there's one in Louisiana, and sorry guys, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But you have these are massive companies that handle a lot of the timber products, okay? And a lot of people don't understand that the falling of trees, the industry of logs is very different than the plywood and hardwood industry. These are very different. They're completely separate industries. And we have massive industries of both here in America. Okay, in Oregon, we have a company called Roseburg Wood Products. There's also another one called Columbia Forestry Products. But these are massive plywood companies. and they sell a lot of their products here in America. And the truth is that when you're in Canada, you can't name a Canadian wood company. Like I challenge anybody in this cast right now to name a Canadian forestry products company. There isn't one that you can think of, and that's because in America we don't offer a lot of Canadian products, right? So what happens is you have a lot of companies will team up with foreign countries. They will get their products sourced from Canada, sent over to China. They'll make those products and then bring them back to America, right? And again, because we don't have any tariffs here in America, we can do all those things, okay? Logs, again, are sent over to China, turned into plywood, and sent back here to America, right? And those logs come from America. Those logs come from Canada, right? So you have very different industries going on with forestry, I should say forestry, with logs versus plywoods, okay? And here in America, again, when the tariffs, if these tariffs come into play, if you make products here in America, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff, especially if you're in the housing industry. All of our house, our framing products are made here in America, right? You can buy foreign made products, but America can support all this stuff, right? So again, if we have a tariff come in to play, it's going to be even more expensive to bring products from overseas. But the product here in America will stay the same price and could actually go down because you could potentially have more people starting businesses to support these growing industries that no longer have access to that cheap labor and that lack of regulation, which is what the real problem is, right? The problem isn't Canada versus America when it comes to forestry products and things like that. The problem is the cheap stuff from China, right? And again, it's these countries, America and Canada, sending logs to these foreign countries where the labor is dirt cheap, making products out of those logs, turning those products like plywoods and hardwoods into furniture, and then sending that furniture back to America to be purchased. Like that's the real problem. So the truth is that Canada and America should be able to offer the same things. Materials from Canada are actually cheaper than here in America, right? Because again, the regulations, the wages, all the stuff we have here in America just makes it impossible for us to bring in I'm backtracking. I said that incorrectly. It's always the cheap labor and the lack of regulations in these other countries that makes it so damn expensive to produce things here in America, right? And this is, again, a massive problem, right? And if we didn't have a whole bunch of people that take advantage of that situation by making everything overseas and then bringing it back here to America, we wouldn't have all these regulations, right? The reason you have a ton of regulations is because you've got a bunch of MBAs that are basically coming in and saying, hey, you know what, congressperson, it would really be nice if we had this law that, you know, could help us to protect everybody else. But what they're really doing is they're basically putting laws in place so it's harder for the small person to get into that business, right? And this is very well known. It's extremely well known. This is what's happened in America. So as the tariff comes in, the regulations go down, it's gonna be much easier to produce products here in America. And then, yeah, maybe America could buy more stuff from Canada, right? We could buy, we could have a better trade relation with this particular country instead of it just basically going one direction, So anyway, I don't know if I covered that as well as I could, but the wood industry in both these countries is very robust. You're gonna get a lot of stuff going up over to other countries from Canada, not so much America, but you get it from both. You get it from both countries, and the American industry is massive. The American wood products industry is so big, we could make all of our wood products here, and we could outsource it. And I don't know if enough people understand this, that you don't need this cheap. I mean, we want this cheap lumber, but America can take care of itself as far as that. And again, wood, the timber industry is a renewable industry, and the way it all works is if you fly over Oregon and you fly over any of the timber country, you're basically going to see patches, right? They look like, you could say that it looks like little cities, little states, whatever you want to call it, and they just harvest this section, and then they come over here next year, they're going to harvest this section, and they go to this section, they harvest this stuff over 10 or 15 years, and they work their way back around, and then they reharvest that one. And this is how it works all over the Pacific Northwest. And it's fantastic industry. And truth is, we don't need to buy all this other timber from other places, but we do it because it's cheap, And again, if we want to have industries here in America, we've got to get away from all this cheap labor. And you know, it's just it's going to kill us. You know, it's going to be a race to the bottom, and the only people that are going to have anything are going to be business owners and people that have the connections in foreign countries to outsource all your shit. And that's kind of how I see it. So anyway, 75 minutes. Go through the comments real quick. I appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate everyone hanging in. If you got any quick questions, I'll answer them real quick. But I think I'm going to end the stream. I started off talking about how the industry's changed for 20 years, and we ended up going off on all kinds of tangents with the comments. And again, I really appreciate everyone chipping in, because it has a lot of comments. It's a long stream. I didn't anticipate to talk this long. Arif, yes, thank you. Good talking to you, and yeah, lots of good insights. And yeah, we just got to, we want people to make things here in America. We want people to get into woodworking. And I didn't even talk about the paint industry, but our company, we make furniture. We are known for our high gloss lacquered finish. I can talk all about the paint industry and how things have changed there as well, and what we do. And maybe we'll do that on another day. But you know, I hope everyone has a great weekend. It's going to be decent here today, and I got a lot of stuff to do around the house, and I will we'll chat with everyone later. So have a good day.